we are. Finally, take two, and we're on YouTube. It's all good. It's your old pal Emac it's the Eric and Eric in the evening show, as we like to call it here. We have a ringer today, folks. We have a Chicago Bears fan that's going to help us break down this game. And before you do anything, know this is not a joke. Robert Woods is inactive tonight. Personal matter. We don't know any more than that, but he is out. We're trying to figure out who the heck is going to be the next guy up. At this point, you're going to want Josh Reynolds. You're going to want Cooper Kupp. And then we've got some questions. All three of the tight ends are active for the Rams. Gerald Everett is in a really good spot. He's been flirting with double-digit targets in about half of the last half dozen games. So he's someone that's worthwhile. And we're just going to walk our way through it. But while we let everybody come on in, Eric, we had our series is now tied at 1-1. You kicked my ass last week.
That's right, baby. Don't you forget to mention that, Emac. For those of you
I'm going to mention it now, and there's not that many people watching.
Smart man. For those of you that have tuned in the last few weeks or all year, we appreciate it, first of all. But yeah, we started a little head-to-head contest. We're doing these breakdowns for the Showdown slate. So Emac and I, he got off to the first win, and I was able to bounce back last week, feeling really good about prospects this week. Even though I don't feel as great about the prospects for my beloved Chicago Bears. So, but excited for tonight's game, and I'm excited to talk about it. Really looking forward to it. A game that last year the Bears manhandled the Rams. That was in Chicago. This one's in LA. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Let's see here. So talk a little bit about David Montgomery. He is active tonight, been dealing with a sore shoulder, looked horrible. Well, I don't want to say horrible. Didn't have great results in his last outing. Last 2 weeks, he's got, 31 carries for about just over 100 yards and a touchdown. That's not very good from a Bears running back. How bad is the Bears offensive line?
Whew. I'll tell you what, the Bears line hasn't been good all year. Kyle Long departed early in the season with an injury. He wasn't even playing well when he was out there, probably in large part due to the injury. They're not creating a whole lot of space for any running back for that matter. Montgomery, it seems like every time he gets the ball, there's someone waiting for them at the line of scrimmage. You're coupling that with Matt Nagy's just insistence on not committing to the running game, which let me tell you, for people in Chicago has been driving us nuts. We like defense. We like running the football. Matt Nagy is from another planet to us. So anyways, yeah, that's where I'm at with Montgomery. I don't love Montgomery tonight. He has been banged up, but he's playing. And you know what? They got to give the ball to someone. I think they're going to struggle probably with Jalen Ramsey shutting down Allen Robinson tonight. But we will see. I look forward to breaking it down tonight, position by position, team by team, and leading you guys up until locks until kickoff at 7:20 Central Time.
All right.
We might shout out to our sponsors, Emac.
Yeah, we've got a fun one. We're gonna hit it a couple next. I actually was able to get in play over there today. It's Super Draft, so you guys definitely want to check them out. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. It's actually quite fun building lineups there. It's entirely different than what we are used to seeing. We do not have to worry about the we do not have to worry about salary cap because what they have here are multipliers. So it's their multiplier game mode. It lets you pick any player that you want as long as you fill out the position requirements. So it offers countless lineup combinations because literally you can pick anybody you want. So how that works is each player is assigned a multiplier based upon the fantasy points they're going to score. So someone like Brian Hill, who sucked today, by the way, has a larger multiplier than, say, somebody like, Christian McCaffrey, who's really, really good. So you have to decide which do you think is going to do better. So you project their points, which we have here at Osmo, by the way, and we also have it tied into Fantasy Cruncher, so it will help you optimize your lineups as you see fit. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. Today was my first day, but so I just played a couple of single entry things to see how it would work. I have been the mush of mushes today, and I was leading the $4,000 quarter jukebox there for the afternoon. I'm now in 10th. That was from $600 to $20. So yikes, I'm down. I'm going to lose about $500 or $600 today. Eric, this is not exciting. This is bad. But I don't have to worry about any of that money. You don't need to worry about the salary cap over there at fantasy draft. Now, you come in on that link, use the promo code OSMO. If you put in $100, it'll automatically give you $20 in super draft cash that you can use in any contest immediately. So that's what I was playing on today. You can't withdraw that, obviously, but you can go ahead and play through that. And it's been kind of fun setting up your team. So they've got NFL, NBA, PGA, NHL, and then, of course, they just wrapped up MLB, but that'll be coming on back in the spring. So definitely want to check that out. It's superdraft.io is the actual website. If you want the link, again, I'm going to put that into the YouTube chat there. And if you use the promo code OSMO, you get $20 added to your account if you deposit $100. Their other deposit bonus does not give you $20. You want to use the promo code OSMO to get the $20. All right, Eric. So I got to figure out all the different places I have Robert Woods going. So
breaking news. Yeah, if those of you that haven't noticed already, EMAC mentioned it at the top of the show. Robert Woods isn't active tonight. That's a last-minute inactive. He was healthy all week. Ian Rappaport tweeted recently that it was due to personal issues. So I hope everything's okay with Robert Woods. As a Bears fan, I can't say I'm terribly disappointed. But hey, that means there's some movement. We got some action to talk about. There are some players that you can kind of dig deep into the bin for tonight in that replacement. We'll break it down throughout the show. Feel free to throw in your questions or comments. We'll try to get to them as we can. And feel free to drop the like into if you're watching YouTube. Helps keep the lights on, guys. EMAC, you want to go ahead and start us off? Let's start with the Rams, right? That's probably where a lot of the meat of tonight's content will be focused on. Unfortunately, the Bears offense doesn't really have a whole lot to talk about for the last 30 years running. And I guess it starts with Jared Goff.
Yeah, it all starts with Goff here. Goff has been a bit of a mess this season. He has, let me see here. Let me look at my notes, and let me drop this into chat here. This is the companion article that goes with these shows, regardless of whether I'm on the show or not. I do write up the article. We've got some snap counts, some targets, routes run, etc. in here. So it's kind of a helpful one-stop shopping for everything. So the notes here on Robert Woods are he's sort of been all over the place this season. Case Keenum is the only quarterback that has put 300 yards on the Bears. That was back in week 3. Goff has gone for under 250 yards 3 times, between 250 and 285 3 times, and 370 plus 3 times. Yeah, all over the place. So the Bears have the 7th passing DVOA and the 5th overall DVOA, and even though they have been a little bit more susceptible to the run recently, they've still been pretty darn good against the pass. The question now becomes Brandon Cooks out with concussion still. Josh Reynolds was already on 90% of the snaps last week. He's going to be heavily involved this week. Cooper Kupp is going to be heavily involved. And we know the Rams normally like to run the 11 personnel, which is the 3 wide receiver set. Now, here's the other guys they have. JoJo Natson, he's a kick returner. No, he's not a cornerback. He's actually a wide receiver. He just doesn't have an offensive snap yet this season. And then the other guy is Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas has 7 offensive snaps. 3 last week and 4 the week before. There's your backups. So I suspect we're going to see a lot of Gerald Everett. They do move him around a little bit, meaning he can sort of split out or kind of play the slot, which is a nominal position when you're running a ton of 3 wide receiver sets. If you go, if you watch a lot of Arizona Cardinals games, they run the 4. Well, they have 2 slot receivers technically. Sometimes it's David Johnson, sometimes it's somebody else. So that's how Everett gets into the slot per se. But he's the guy that should see one of the better boosts. Tyler Higbee is dinged up. So Everett was dinged up with a wrist injury. Higbee's dinged up with a knee injury. And I don't even know what the deal was with Johnny Munt. But Johnny Munt has played 22 snaps in the last 3 weeks, 26 on the season. 5 last week, 1 the week before that. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about him too much. But I would say this is a boost for Gerald Everett.
Yeah, Everett for sure. Higbee, I guess, he is expected to play. So while he's dinged up, he is playing tonight. Potentially a little bit more 2 tight end sets for the Rams. We'll see where that goes. Maybe this means more work for someone like Todd Gurley. They're going to use him more in the passing game, perhaps. Just got to believe that McVay's going to want to use people that he trusts. And Goff's going to want to get the ball to folks that he trusts. And just because Woods is out doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to step up and get 4, 5, 6 targets, perhaps. But again, likely that they lean on folks that they have relied on throughout the season. we touched on Goff, the running back position. Gurley's been up and down this season. He was the man last year, no question about it. Potentially some more receptions tonight with the Woods news. But how are you viewing Gurley? Is he someone that you're including in every lineup tonight? Bears okay against the run.
Yeah, so the issue with Gurley is I've just sort of felt snake bit all season, but I guess tonight, if we're going to throw caution to the wind, and we probably should, you want to look and see what he's done the last few weeks. So he sat out week 6, but in week 7, he played 46 snaps. That was 61%. In week 8, he played 32%. That was 32 snaps. That was 52%. Week 9, the Rams had a bye. Last week, he played 57 snaps, so that was 74%. We got to like him for what? 50, 60 snaps tonight. So he should play 2/3, if not 3/4 of the snaps. So that's a fair amount. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be running into the line on all of them. But generally, if he's going to, when he's out there, they're looking for him because they know that for close to 1/3 of the snaps, he's not going to be out there more often than not. But if you look at who's coming in behind him, well, Malcolm Brown played 16% of the snaps last week, just 12. He did not play the 2 weeks prior because he was dinged up. And then Daniel Henderson last week played 8 snaps or 10%. And the week prior to that, he played 30 snaps. So he basically was splitting it with Gurley. So when they ran some no running back sets. So that is why those aren't always adding up to 100. And there wasn't a ton of overlap with 2 running back sets. So, we'd like to think it's going to be Gurley, but he's not the same. He's not the Todd Gurley that at this time last year we were wondering, gosh, he's just been in some bad luck because otherwise he was averaging, 30 fantasy points a game at full PPR at this point last season before he went into the tank. But I'm probably going to be a fish and go with Josh Reynolds, Cooper Kupp. And the question, though, comes down to, do you want Gurley or do you want Goff? And if you think the Rams are going to run more, then Gurley is the obvious choice. If you think they're going to pass more, that doesn't mean that Goff is the obvious choice. It just means now you have a decision point because they could pass more and Goff could still be putrid with 250 yards because we've seen him do that 3 times or 2/3 of the time less than 275. So Gurley will get some swing passes. He could conceivably outperform Goff if Goff, has his 5th best outing of the year. Gurley could be better than him. So that's the decision point, I think, tonight. If you want to look at the really cheap guys, if you put in Mike Thomas or JoJo Nats and, you can now pick anybody that you want. I don't know that I really want to do that because I don't know. Combined this season, they have 15 offensive snaps. Oh, I'm sorry. JoJo Natson actually he had 8 3 games ago. That was the only time he set foot on offense.
Yeah, not exactly instilling a whole heck of a lot of confidence. Right?
Between them, they're averaging 1.5 snaps a game combined. Okay, I'm sorry I slipped on that.
About as many snaps as those guys do this season.
Yes, they're just ahead of us. Just ahead of us.
just a dash ahead of us. One thing to mention, I think, just as a Bears fan, observing this defense for the last, I guess all season, but especially the last 6 weeks or so, since the loss of Akeem Hicks early in the year, they have not just been as stout against the run up the middle as they have been in the past. He was a Pro Bowler last year. That guy is a beast. I saw him at the dinner this summer. I swear he closed the place down that we were at. So he's missing. That's been a huge gap for the Bears in the middle of the field for him. I personally like Gurley. We'll probably get down to our picks later, EMAC, so don't be changing yours up. But I'm big on Gurley tonight, even though it pains me to say it.
Well, I'm not as much in on Gurley, so that'll be our differentiation point.
Okay, great.
In our head-to-head battle.
Well, moving right along, the wide receiver spot, we've touched on it, we've glazed over it, we've, I guess, kind of gotten into it a little bit, but let's kind of take a deeper dive, if we will.
So Kupp, no catches last week. Big surprise.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Crazy.
Don't know how that happens.
That's one thing that I really just found, coming off, weeks prior where he'd done well, it seems like it's just weird. Watch these games. I was watching Tampa Bay earlier. They seem to have a hard time getting the ball to guys like Godwin and Evans early and didn't get it to them until later, until it's oftentimes too late. The Rams couldn't get the ball to Kupp at all last week. So I expected the change. You can't imagine that's going to be the repeat this week. Bears haven't been great in coverage. Not bad though. I think what was it in your article you mentioned? They're in the top 10 from a pass perspective, but nobody's really a lockdown corner for the Bears. Kyle Fuller, a Pro Bowler, he hasn't been exceptional in man-to-man. I expect the receivers from the Rams to have some space to work within. And the Bears, while Mack has been a beast, he's getting double, triple teamed at times. He's getting chipped. So I expect Goff to have some time to throw the ball tonight and find his weapons. So, it starts with Kopp. Is Kopp someone that you're looking at if you're doing a captain spot in a DraftKings? Is Kopp someone that you want in that role, especially knowing that Woods is out tonight and they potentially wouldn't lean heavily on him?
I mean, he was, prior to last week when he got 4 snaps, no catches, he was averaging just over 10 snaps a game. 10, 8, 6, 17, 15, 12, 9, and 10. The volume's going to be there. Last week, Woods had 11. Those are now gone. Josh Reynolds had 5. He should see some. Gerald Everett saw 12. Excuse me. I think those are going to be the top 3 guys that we want to look to. I think Cook is very much in play in the captain spot, even on FanDuel when it's half-point PPR. But I really like him there on DraftKings because he can catch it short and he can also do a lot after the catch. And if he's in space, he's been phenomenal this year considering he's coming off the reconstructive knee surgery.
Yeah, and to your point, I expect the volume to be there tonight. Games are just wrapping up. If you guys aren't watching, New England holds on to beat Philadelphia in the afternoon games. We got about a little over 30 minutes until kickoff. Again, Bears on the road in LA, taking on the Rams. 2 playoff teams last year. This year, not so much. It's going to be interesting to see where it lands there. Keeping it going on the Rams side of the ball, the tight end position. Again, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Gerald Everett, getting the lion's share there. Tyler Higbee, someone that maybe you consider tonight. How are you approaching the tight end position? Is Everett someone that you want to fade tonight, or is his cost kind of scaring you a little bit?
So Higbee goes from being a complete fade for me to I'll let him go on 10 or 15% of my lineups. Gerald Everett, no surprise, he's going to become one of my probably core plays at this point. Did he make my main lineup? I should put that out in another spot there so I can find it. So I will tell you guys in just a sec. But no, I'm okay with Higbee. Yes, for Gerald Everett. And I think that's going to be the standard assessment of most people. But I'm willing to go over what the field probably is going to be on Everett.
Yeah, they're just showing warm-ups here for the game on NBC. So Everett, he's been good and definitely a red zone target, right? They're going to need to, Bears are a stout defense. I'd say when it gets to the red zone, they do kind of have that bend but don't break mentality. So I'd expect Goff to look to people like an Everett, a big body in the red zone, to try to convert for some of those touchdowns there. In the event they don't convert in using some of those big tight ends, they may have to kick a few field goals tonight. Yeah. And that will segue to our kicker spot. I saw you mentioned there in your article that you were pretty high on kickers tonight, just due to the uncertainty, due to the Bears' inability to move the ball a whole lot, and typically leaning towards the home team's kicker. How are you approaching that tonight?
Yeah, Greg Zuerlein, phenomenal kicker. He's the guy I would prefer. They're relatively similarly priced, particularly on DraftKings. So, I wouldn't, if you had your otherwise perfect lineup, I had to go with the non-Greg, I can't think of the kid's name, but if you had to go with the non-Greg Zuerlein kicker, then I'm totally fine with
Eddie Pinheiro. I got you there, bud.
Thank you. I didn't, just in case his mom's watching, sorry. Eduardo did make it. I have him tied as number 10 with Greg Zuerlein there for my pick. So the name escaped me. I'm scrambling here behind the scenes. So
I got my Pinheiro jersey hanging in the closet. I'll throw it on after our show and get ready for tonight. Zuerlein. Hey, they don't call him Legatron for nothing. I expect him to have some opportunities tonight. Rams should move the ball, which just to the Bears' inability to move the ball. Expect the Rams to have possession And as I mentioned, a bend but don't break defense oftentimes can lead to a few additional field goals here and there. So interesting to see where that lands for them. The one part of the Rams team that we haven't mentioned just yet, and as I've been looking at these comments, I'm sure a lot of people approaching tonight's game were high on the Rams defense. Again, as much as it pains me in some of my season-long leagues, I've been like picking up whoever is playing the Bears offense as my defense, which is, again, it's sad to admit, but hey, they're giving up sacks. They're not moving the ball. They're not scoring a ton of points. Is the Rams defense someone that, hey, we need to include in like every lineup tonight, or is there someone that maybe you throw into a captain spot? How are you approaching Rams against the Bears?
Yeah, I like them a lot. Now, they were my number 3 pick after Robert Woods. It was Kupp, Woods, and then the Rams defense. And I said, this is one of my highest rankings, but the Bears are a mess right now on offense. The Bears have allowed multiple sacks in 6 of 9 games, 9 in their last 3. They do only have 9 turnovers, which is the 4th fewest. Why do they only have 9 turnovers? Well, Trubisky would have to actually throw it near the receiver for there to be an interception opportunity. And when it's in the ground or sailing over the receiver's head, that's not always going to happen. So just saying, there is, I guess, an upside to not being accurate. It's less interceptions because he generally doesn't throw it. He doesn't overthrow into with that sitting linebacker or safety in the zone. So that is the one good thing with Trubisky. He'll take a sack, I guess, instead of throwing an interception. But yeah, it's a disaster. You've got their running back dinged up with the shoulder issue. Allen Robinson, all-world talent. Quarterback, just not the guy. By the way, Trubisky was one of my top 3 drafted quarterbacks in best ball this year. Trubisky, Jameis Winston, and Murray were 3 of my top 5. So I'm just as disappointed as everybody else. I thought he was going to turn it around, and I wanted his boom bust upside. We have not seen the boom. We've only seen the bust so far. So for me, the 2 guys I would look to on the Bears would be Gabriel. If he has the ball in space, he's good. Remember, he had a lot of long receiving touchdowns where he'd kind of get it on a seam and just managed to get through into the second level when he was with the Falcons. He's already done that a couple times with the Bears. The other guy I like, more last season than this season, the other guy I like is Tarik Cohen. He can score from anywhere on the field. And again, David Montgomery dinged up. If they're going to have to move this through the pass, it's not going to be Montgomery. And as we saw with James Conner on Thursday night, he got hurt again. He re-injured himself. Montgomery could end up in that same boat. So for me, I really only like 2 Bears players tonight, only because I don't want to earmark so much of my salary cap to Allen Robinson.
Yeah, and I guess it's because you have to include Bears players, right?
Yes. Onslaughts are going to be even more popular now than they were before. So Christo had a good question. He said, and this is in the premier chat. Would you, the premium chat here? Would you put Robinson in as your captain? Maybe 3% of my lineups, just because it's different. And if this ends up being a field goal game and he gets the touchdown on both sides, hey, congratulations. You're probably going to be by yourself. But I'm going more chalk donkey approach here and just going with the ton of Rams. And those other 2 guys that I mentioned.
There are a lot of folks that are going to be doing the same, and we'll get position by position. We might as well while we're on it, go into the wide receiver position for the Bears.
Yep.
If we're going to talk about Robinson, there's no way you don't mention Allen Robinson. If you say his name tonight, you better mention Jalen Ramsey's name tonight.
Yeah.
Because I got a feeling Ramsey's going to be all over him. And while I love A-Rob, I think he's a great player. He's shown the ability to go up and make plays in the air. No, Ramsey's a shutdown corner, and you couple a shutdown corner with a quarterback in Trubisky who is less than accurate. I love Robinson. I just don't love him tonight, and others might disagree. He gets by all means the lion's share of the targets. He is the equivalent of the Brandon Marshall of years past for the Bears, where he's going to get 70 or whatever percent of the targets for the game. Ramsey's he's been tough. Now, one thing I did find interesting, Emac, in your article, if folks haven't checked it out already on offspo.com, when you're talking about the wide receivers for the Bears, the Rams have actually allowed in the last 4 games, which is including post Jalen Ramsey, the 9th most fantasy points to wide receivers. Now that number drops to 17 in the full year, which you would think it would be the opposite, right? You would think that with Jalen Ramsey, they would be better against the pass, but the last 4 games they've been giving up quite a bit. So I found that interesting, so maybe that means more opportunities for guys like Gabriel, guys like Miller. They've struggled to get Miller the ball. When they have gotten him the ball, he hasn't always done great things with it. Gabriel, he did have that one big game earlier this year. For those of you that tune in all season long on Osmo, that was the Monday night game that Gabriel had 3 touchdowns. If you put him in your captain spot that day, you were probably sitting pretty. But yeah, it's just kind of tough for me to put my chips behind Robinson, just knowing Ramsey's going to be on him.
Yeah, those are very, very fair.
Moving along, I might as well let's take a step back to the running back position for the Bears. We've talked about Montgomery being dinged up leading into tonight's game and how that could implicate things like James Conner. Similarly, the last thing you want to do is have someone heading to the tent, heading to the locker room in the first quarter, and giving you a goose egg, giving you a single digit there, just ruining your night before it could even get started. Cohen is someone that I know you do like tonight, and certainly the better option. They even like to give Cohen the ball in the red zone, which is interesting for him being a smaller guy. Again, I think just getting him in space. So it sounds like you're high on Cohen, not so much on Montgomery. Is there any possibility of reducing Montgomery, potentially having one of those? He had a few nice weeks in a row.
I've capped Montgomery at 10%. I didn't want nothing, but I'm not really interested in him.
Yeah, I think I saw some comments, folks, knowing that Montgomery probably isn't the high play today. Some people are taking the contrarian approach and hoping that Montgomery does have one of those breakout games. Or maybe this is a game where the Bears and Nagy finally commits to the running game. You get a famous quote that, hey, the Bears didn't hire me to run the I formation. Yet, if you watch the game tonight and the last few weeks, when they line up in the I formation, Montgomery seems to pick up like 8 yards a carry. So we'll see what Nagy's feeling today as he starts dialing up the plays throughout the game. Trubisky, I don't want to not talk about him. At least we should at least mention him. We've talked about how poor he's been. He's had some glimpses, and the Rams haven't exactly been lights out, but they're not giving up a ton. Mac, in your article, you mentioned a couple of quarterbacks that have done decent against them. How are you approaching Mitch tonight?
I will take whatever I get. I mean, he's one of 2 quarterbacks in this game. My rousing endorsement for him was, hey, at least the ball's going to be in his hands on every play. There we are. It's not quite the rousing endorsement you probably want to see, but that's where I'm landing with on him. He could have a good game. Weird stuff happens. It's the NFL. He could have 3 touchdowns tonight. We've seen it. We've seen the Rams lose when they shouldn't have. We've seen Atlanta win when there's no way they should have. We've seen all sorts of weirdness. Last week, what was it? Like 3 teams with 1 loss all won. It's just crazy stuff happens. 2 of them on the road, depending on how you want to count the Jets-Giants game 3. It just weird stuff can happen. So yes, it is in the realm of possibility that Trubisky could have 3 touchdowns tonight. Jameis Winston carved up this defense. It wasn't that long ago. Weird stuff can happen. So there is a possibility. It's a rare possibility. It's an outlier, but it's still in play.
Yeah, no, it's in play. I guess that's one way of saying it. Yes, it is in play. I saw some questions coming in, and there's one position that, as a Bears fan, I don't even really know who's playing tonight in the tight end spot. What in the heck are you doing with the tight end position?
All right. So clearly that person did not read the article. I try to have a little bit of humor in the article. I'm going to drop it again in chat just so you can see the different routes run, play types, etc. I came down here. This is number Where is he? Number 5 on the secondary plays. I said Ben Broniker, last man standing at the position. Oh, they edited it. Did they edit that out? I made a nice snide comment, damn it. There we go. Quick. Name the lead tight end for Chicago. Congratulations if you have ever heard of Ben Broniker. Trey Burton's on the IR with the calf injury. Adam Shaheen is ruled out and is not active. I said this position is a nightmare for NFL DFS. I had never heard of him. I had no knowledge whatsoever of this poor guy, but he will be on the field.
He will be on the field. Hey, you know what? Did he have a touchdown last week, EMAC? I believe he did.
Fake news.
Fake news. I want to confirm this. Broniker went 1 for 18 and a tutty last week, so don't you be dogging my boy Broniker.
You know, if you order on Amazon now, you can have that shirt for halftime. That jersey. He doesn't have a jersey. He just only has a jersey.
Yeah, they're actually making them. There's like somebody in the back printing those numbers. They don't even have it right now. You know what I will say is, again, just someone has been watching the Bears throughout the year. You know, Broniker, no. Is he a household name? No. Does he have one catch for 18 yards and a touchdown? Yes. However, the Bears do target the tight end in the red zone. As I mentioned, Robinson likely to have Ramsey on him. So potentially this opens up an opportunity if the Bears can somehow find their way to the red zone for someone like a Broniker and a play action rollout type thing when they give the ball to Mitch, you know, moving to his right, potentially a dump off to Broniker. I don't hate him tonight as much as I don't love him. I think you could do worse than Broniker. He's a sneaky. He's my dark horse for tonight. I don't say I'm putting him in our lineup, but he's a dark horse for tonight.
Well, one of the guys we almost would have been talking about if David Montgomery was out was Null, because he's $200 now. He's $5K on DK, but he's $200 on DraftKings.
So it allows you to get pretty creative with some of those higher end players if it is someone that you do include. The Bears defense, the monsters of the Midway, the vaunted Bears defense of last year isn't as vaunted as it once was. I mentioned the Akeem Hicks injury. I think all Bears fans know how big of a role he's played with that team's success last season in stuffing the run. The Rams haven't been great on the offensive side of the ball. Is this one of those nights where you maybe include two defenses? Like, is this a 17-10, grind it out, both defenses cause some turnovers, get some sacks? Goff isn't exactly the most fleet of foot. How are you approaching the Bears D tonight? I'm
still setting my two defense and kicker rule, but if it ends up being both defense, I'm not going to stop that from happening. I think that's an absolutely reasonable play in this particular one, and that would be the first time I have said that all season. So I do not take that lightly to pull that one out of my hat.
Well, Bears D, hey, you know what? They're going to need like a pick six, right? I mean, they had so many turnovers caused last season. Haven't been able to quite meet those standards that they set this year. So I'll be interested to see where they land tonight. I don't love them, but I don't hate them. I think it could be one of those situations where again it's a defensive battle tonight. But we shall see. It was last year. I think these two teams played to like a 13-6 game last season in a season where both teams had high flying offenses. So keep that in mind approaching tonight's game. We talked about Eddie Pinheiro. We thought that he fixed all the Bears' kicking woes. Had some success early in the year. Then there was the game a couple weeks back where Nagy decided not to run the ball and move it a little bit closer for him. He ends up missing the game-winning 41-yard field goal. Bears are below 500. It sounds like Zerline is the play there, but hey, if the Bears' offense moves, they may not score a touchdown. So Pinheiro isn't a terrible option. But Emac, I know you don't love him because you were referring to him as the kicker not named Zerline earlier. So I can't imagine that you love Pinheiro going into tonight's game.
I'm nothing if not professional. Oh, wait!
All right. Well, that I think that gets to most of the players. If there's anybody that we didn't touch on, feel free to throw a question in the chat. EMAC, I think the people want to know let's talk about our lineups, right? We're 1-1 right now, week 11. We've hinted at some of the things that each one of us respectively are feeling approaching tonight's matchup. So without further ado, do you want to lead it off, EMAC? How are you putting together? If this is your single entry, you versus me. What's the game plan, baby?
All right, I gotta get back to it. So we're locked in, right? We're
locked in. I'm not changing it. Hands are off. Hands off the wheel.
So I will be going with Cooper Kupp as my captain.
I know you were high on Wood, so I'm not shocked to see Kupp.
Yes, Kupp was the captain prior to the whole debacle here, but there we are.
The whole debacle. What are they saying? About 6.5 minutes? I know we're further along than that. We got about 12 minutes till kickoff.
This is 8:20, right?
This is 8:20. Yes.
We do this every week, but I really need those extra 5 minutes this week.
Yeah, I think everybody does, right? You're yeah, because there's things that you talk about. There's things that are kind of going on in your brain leading up until kickoff. It's tough not having those couple minutes before. So you like Kupp in your captain spot. Yep. We're doing this on DraftKings, mind you. I already alluded to it earlier. I like Gurley tonight. Again, it pains me to say it. I just think he's going to get fed early and often. I think he's going to get the ball in the passing game. Without Akeem Hicks, the Bears haven't been as stout against the run as they could be. And just volume makes me feel the most confident in Gurley in that captain spot. Plus, he isn't as expensive, which I found a bit interesting. I mean, like if this game occurred week 2 of this season, is there any way that Gurley isn't the most expensive player, like by a long shot?
Oh yeah, no chance. I mean, he would just be, if he was doing what he was doing. If he was Christian McCaffrey, he would still be the most expensive player. He probably wouldn't be 5 figures, but he would be the most expensive player, no question asked.
Yeah, so I like Gurley do like Gurley in that captain spot. That's where I went, and then from there, I'm sure we probably get a little bit different. I'll keep it going at least for what I went with on the Rams side of the ball. And this is one of those games. And I've been seeing the comments floating in. It's tough. Like we've been doing these showdowns, EMAC, and you and I were chatting before we were on the air today. Like it's easy to look at tonight's game and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm playing all of the Rams." Like give me all the Rams and one Bears player, whoever whatever flavor of the week that you like today. It's easy to want to do that, and yet every time that's the case, and we watch these games. Both teams move the ball. Both teams usually end up scoring some points. So while I want to just stack it with all Rams, I had to kind of balance that. Plus, my heart always gets in the way a little bit. So I went with Gurley in the captain spot. Then I did play the Rams defense. I can't stand the Bears offense. And I just they're going to get Mitch is going to give up sacks. He's probably going to turn the ball over once. I'd be shocked if he didn't. I went with Gerald Everett. I like him tonight, stepping up, taking on a few extra targets in the place of Robert Woods. And then I do like Cooper Kupp. So I didn't play the quarterback. I didn't play Goff. I went with Kupp. I went with Everett, the Ramsey, and Gurley. And then with the Bears, I went with Cohen and Gabriel. So I don't know how far off we are with some of those, EMAC. Where did you land with the rest of your?
So I've got Kupp, the Rams, Everett, Goff, Reynolds, and Cohen.
Okay. All right. So a little bit different. You went with Goff. I went with Gabriel. We got different captains.
Yeah, I wanted Gabriel. I had Gabriel and Woods. I've changed those to Goff and Cohen because I was $300 short, and I wanted Cooper Kupp as my captain. So that's when I was asking you pre-show: is it Goff or is it Gurley? Because that was my decision point, and I think it's splitting hairs, truthfully. So I wouldn't get mad if somebody went the other way. I'm a little terrified I don't have Gabriel, but I'm fine with Cohen there.
Yeah, Cohen. I mean, Cohen got in the end zone last week. They seem to like to get in the ball, and they like to get in the ball in the red zone. Like Montgomery is the clear, like, larger back. But if you're watching tonight's game, the Bears have the ball within the 5. Like, I'd almost bet you money that Cohen gets a carry inside the 5-yard line. For whatever reason, they love doing it. It may not be a bunch, but he always ends up getting one. It always drives me bonkers when they do it because it never works. Now they give him the ball in the passing game inside the red zone. That does seem to work. He makes some moves and seems to be able to find his way in, has that knack for it.
Nice.
So we got a few minutes left. What else is kind of on your mind approaching tonight's game? We've again, for anybody that's maybe jumped and joined late, if you haven't heard already, Robert Woods was a last-minute inactive due to personal reasons. So that does change some things for lineups. If you had Robert Woods in your lineup and you did this earlier in the day, you did this earlier in the week, make sure you jump in there and you pull him out, make that switch. And then how do you make that switch? What do you do with it? That is to be determined. Use awesemo.com. Use the tools out there. Use Emac's awesome article that he writes every week for this game to help you make that decision leading up until kickoff. And what else is on your mind? Maybe something we haven't talked about, or things as you're approaching your kind of building those building your lineups tonight. I think maybe let's touch the Woods
last minute stuff here. All right,
yeah.
I'm running in last minute. I'm obviously under the gun here, so I do half my main lineups. I read off to you guys what I'm doing, but clearly there's some decision points within that. I've got let's see, Reynolds I think is going to be a popular captain for people. I've got Zerline as a captain. I put everybody at 10%, so now I'm just going in and adding a few. So I'm adding in like 5% for some of these. So like there we go. I didn't set this. See, this is a good trick. You better make sure you can have offensive players playing against your defense, or it won't work for you. That's why I didn't get any defense. So let me hit run again here. So basically I'm getting 10% of all of the top guys, which is kind of where things are landing. This has me heavier on Everett. It has me heavier. I'm going lower on Montgomery because I'm not a fan of Montgomery. It has me heavier on Gabriel, Higbee, and at this point, the Reynolds thing is going to update. He'll be a captain. I didn't bring in our new information, but those are my main guys. I'm going light on Kupp because I already have him on a bunch of my other teams. So over half my money in play is going to have Cooper Kupp as my captain. I'm going to go a little bit more here on Goff. I've got Allen Robinson in a little bit. I did not set any rules where Bears receivers need to have Trubisky. I did say Trubisky needed to have 2 of the Bears receivers, and I did say that Goff needed to have 2 of his receivers, but I did not say any of the Rams receivers needed him. I'm going to make, let's see, 5% of these lineups are going to now have the Rams as captain. And that will probably do it. I'm going to build one more, or crunch one more. Who do I look light on? You know what? Todd Gurley, because the guy I'm playing has Todd Gurley at captain. So if I'm going to lose through my tiers, I at least better see a little bit of green on my side.
There you go. That's where you got to look at. Sometimes you got to hedge your bets in these things. And we talked about this, I think, a little bit last week, Emac, like with these showdown slates. And with any one given game, you talked about, what was it? You were in a, where you had to pick a winner.
The Survivor pool?
Survivor pool last week. Yes, thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue there. And like everyone last week had picked the Saints, and if they hadn't picked the Saints, they picked
the Colts.
The Colts, right? Yep. And both teams lost. So in any one game, anything can happen. So when you're creating lineups, especially for these showdown slates, it's easy to want to get on the Rams tonight. Like for you, Emac, is there like a, hey, you know what? The Bears beat this team last year. The Bears, who knows, could show up and beat this team this year. Is there a lineup where you're going, hey, you know what? I'm going to go heavy Bears. Or is it really hard to do that and you feel like you're just kind of donating at that point? No,
and that's why I set it 2 for every time I have Trubisky. So the Trubisky lineups will be inherently heavier Bears.
Yep.
But that's only 5% of my cash in play, so it's not very much.
So there you go.
Yeah. If we didn't have all this news, I would have done a few things differently, etc., etc. But here we are. I've now fixed all my lineups, my season-long stuff. I had tiers contests, I had all-day contests, I had Thursday through Monday, Sunday through Monday. and I was on multiple sites, so I got all that fixed. We still have 5 minutes left, so we'll hit on any other questions here. But I think I think this is going to be a crappy defensive type game. The over-unders was, about 40? It may have ticked down, if anything, because Woods is out. But that means what? 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and a bunch of field goals, maybe? That's not very exciting. For one of them to the defense, perhaps. Defenses seem to have made me look bad by saying, well, the defenses score about 1 every 5 games. Yeah, it seems like the showdown slates, the defense have been scoring more. It's a 1-game sample size out of all the games, or 3 of the games out of the entire week, but it just feels that way. These are 2 defenses where I think they could do it. For all as much maligned as we are against the Bears, and their defense not being as awesome as they were because they lost their key D lineman, they're still a good defense. They still have playmakers. They still have one of the best back 7 in the league. So those guys can get it done. And then we know what the Rams are. The Rams are solid, but they're facing Mitch Trubisky.
Gosh, it must be nice. If you're a Rams defender, if you're like a defender in the NFL, you must circle the game against the Bears on your schedule and go, this is the game that I'm going to pad my stats. This is the game I'm going to get an interception, or he hasn't turned over. This is the game that I'm going to get sacks. This is the game that we're not going to give up more than 250 yards altogether, whatever it is. If the Bears score more than 17 points tonight, EMAC, I'll do next week's show shirtless.
Okay.
Which anybody wants, but there's no chance of that happening. So I'm fairly confident we won't have to worry about that. You'll probably catch me in a hoodie again. It's cold up here in Chicago. Gosh darn it!
I bet
winter came early for us. I'm sure the Bears players are enjoying. Yeah, even if they lose, they're probably just happy to be out in LA. I know I would right now. We got a couple minutes until kickoff. You want to give another shout out to our sponsors, anyone that missed it earlier?
Absolutely. So I was up playing there today. It's superdraft.io. I'm dropping the link in chat. If you come in on our link, use the promo code OSMO, you will get a $20 deposit bonus from Superdraft if you put in $100. That's available as soon as you hit deposit, and you can put it into contests. If you do not use our promo code, you're not going to get $20. You're going to get less than that. So we have a better deal than what they're offering on their site. They want us to promote them because we also have projections for their site. We're tied in with Fantasy Cruncher that also has the optimizer for it. Now, how does this work? Hey, it's not salary cap. It's entirely different. This is all multipliers. It's a ton of fun. So they have their exclusive multiplier game mode. It lets you pick any player you want as long as you're meeting the position requirements. You want to play nothing but all-stars? No problem. You want to play dart throws? No problem. There is no salary cap. But what happens is they may say someone like Brian Hill today might have had a 1.5 multiplier where Christian McCaffrey may not have had a multiplier on his fantasy points. So if McCaffrey scored 15 and Hill scored 10, 1.5 times 10 is 15. They'd be the same. So where do you want to go? What do you want to do with the probabilities? And that's been kind of interesting to play with. You can stack your teams. You can do whatever you want. The guy that just crushed the contest I was in today had a Cowboys stack. He had all 3 Cowboys receivers, Elliott and Dak. Congratulations. Way to go. I was on the bottom looking up in that particular contest. But it's been a lot of fun. They had this for NFL, and they're doing overlay. They're intentionally having overlay in their 2 bigger contests of the week. And that's their marketing. So they said, hey, we're going to continue doing this through basketball. I'm looking forward to trying this on basketball because I was doing all the shows today. I didn't get there. But, oh, my basketball with multipliers, no salary cap, that is a different wrinkle, especially if you're going to be looking at some of the scrubs that may be appearing. I can't wait to see if they're 5 or 6 or 7X, someone that you're not expecting against like a LeBron. So, who do you want? Do you want Alec Burks or do you want LeBron? Well, you may want Alec Burks in this one. We'll have to see. But that's definitely something I'm looking forward to checking out over there at Superdraft. That's superdraft.io.
You heard it here first, folks. We're at 8:20 Eastern time, approaching kickoff. That's going to about do it for us tonight. EMAC, any closing thoughts before we let the people get on with their lives, get on with their Sunday evenings?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready for dinner. I said after the last show I was going to have dinner, and then I got the Robert Woods news. So I said I better fix the money first. It was a bad week for me for NFL. It happens. Last week I got lucky. Clawed back just a little bit because I won a winner take all. Only lost $250, but I'm gonna lose today. It looks like about 500. That's not very fun. But you know what? This week I won almost 500 in hockey, and I'm only playing 50 to 70 bucks a night in hockey. So just saying, check out those awesome hockey projections. We have had those free a couple times in the last week. They work well with Fantasy Cruncher and with Alex's rankings, his line combination rankings. I'd like to read our article. I like hockey. I just don't follow it once we're doing basketball. But I've played every day since the beginning of last year's playoffs, and I've been it's my best ROI sport. So I found my little trick on what I can do, and it's cushioning this NFL debacle just a little bit for me. So I'm still even though I lost today. But there we are. All right, you can follow us on Twitter. Eric, you want to say your fond farewells? I mean, it is. You mentioned it's November at Chicago. It's going to be cold. At some point, you're going to be snowed in. I hope you still have internet on those days.
We'll still have internet. The good thing is it is a big city. They did figure out the wiring around here, so I should be good there. If nothing else, I need to find a vacation somewhere warm within the next couple of months. That might be the only time that you don't see me here. Emac, you said you lost $500 today. It's going to be 502, baby. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully I'm 2-1. Hopefully my Bears are 5-5 and back at 500. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Drop us with a like. We appreciate you guys. Have a great evening and a great week ahead. Thanks.
All right. With that, gamers, we got to cover. Early Bird Podcast will be up in a couple hours. We've got the 9:30 DFS NBA Strategy Show tomorrow morning. On Monday, we have at 11 o'clock the NFL Strategy Show. We're going to have NHL show, and then the deep dive at 5 and live before lock NBA style is going to be 6 to 7, and then wait for it, you're going to get live before lock NFL at 7:30 again for Monday Night Football. With that, gamers, good luck.